Hello everyone. So I know it's still September when I'm making this, but hell, let's start the spooky season off right. I'm gonna try to make a bunch of Halloween themed videos during this. That probably won't work with the upload schedule I have in place. Maybe I can make like a cake or something from like, I don't know, Dead by Daylight along with that other video. But yeah, I'm gonna try doing some more Halloween centric videos with the reviews. You know, you might see me do a costume review, you know, something like that. But today I wanted to talk about the most horrifying thing in the world. And no, I'm not talking about the current state of politics. Jesus Christ. No, but today I want to talk about one of the coolest YouTube Red shows, and one that I talked about in a previous video, that being Escape the Night. Escape the Night was a concept made by Joey Graceffa that would later be written by this guy, who we'll talk about this guy in a minute, but yeah. Every season would start off normal with Joey inviting a bunch of people, or Joey getting involved with a bunch of, you know, really famous YouTubers, or at least famous YouTubers at the time. And one by one, they are picked off as they play games, solve riddles, solve puzzles, and obtain items that allow them to leave or defeat the current present evil. In season 1, it was the house itself, where they had to get 4 artifacts and relieve the house of the 5 owners. In season 2, it was a crown that they had to get 8 jewels for, and then a final 9th jewel. In season 3, it was a large amount of artifacts once again, centering around a town trapped in the 70s. And in season 4, it was collecting 8 to 9 keys that would release them from this weird sort of museum sort of thing. Now, instead of reviewing each season, I wanted to rank them and then review the series as a whole at the very end. So I do have criteria. First off, the plot. How does it relate within each other, and especially if it's a sequel season or just the next season following it, how does it tie back to the original plot? Number 2, the YouTubers that are featured. Now, this isn't exactly a very strict rule because some of the time I don't even know these YouTubers, and maybe I just grew up on the wrong side of YouTube, but I will be judging on how, you know, involved the YouTubers are, I guess, like how much I enjoy the YouTubers that are featured and how much I hate some of the YouTubers that are featured, which I'm gonna hate some. And finally, number 3, and the most important one, the monsters and the game itself. Each season has a bunch of special effects as monsters and villains, and I'll of course be ranking them. Anyway, let's get into it. By the way, this is all my opinion. The show is amazing overall, I would say, but I'll give my really true and deep opinions on it at the very end. But if you guys haven't watched this, if you guys are interested in this sort of thing, you know, seeing your YouTubers battle it out to the death, I'm going to be linking Joey's channel, which you can find all 4 seasons of Escape the Night free on YouTube without ads, I think. There's probably ads. Anyway, let's get into it. Now, it was actually very hard to pick the 4th spot one, not because the 2 ones I was deciding on are good. I was just trying to decide which one's the worst one. But to be honest, I'm going to give it to the 4th and final season that has come out, season 4. Now, this was supposed to be an all-star season, but to be honest, the YouTubers that they bring back either do not really change from how they were in the first seasons that they appeared in, are constantly referencing that season that they were brought back in, or really do nothing to serve the plot at all. Like, some of them that they brought back were like Alex Wasabi, who his whole entire thing in the first season was like he was upset that his girlfriend got killed in like the first episode, and then kept on blaming Daystorm about it until Daystorm eventually died, and then he kind of just became a nothing character. There's another character that they bring back, I can't even remember the name of her, to be honest with you. I barely know any of these YouTubers, but they bring her back from season 3, which her whole entire thing was in season 3, spoiler alert. She get trapped in an Iron Maiden, and so she won't shut up about how she was killed by everyone because it was a group decision. Like, I get it, but iJustine was also brought back, and she was also killed by everyone, but she got over that kind of quick. Also, another major problem I have is the 2 YouTubers that they bring back from the 3rd season, which the 2 YouTubers that they bring back from the 3rd season that aren't technically dead are Matthew, Patrick, and Nikita. And both of them are really good. I'm not gonna lie, they were strong in their seasons, and you're gonna see that when I talk later about the 3rd season. But really, they don't get to do as much. They appear in 2 episodes alone, and for some convoluted bullshit plot reason, they are sent back. And another thing I have to discuss is the plot itself, tying it back to, you know, all the other seasons. They explain at the end of the 3rd season that apparently this weird life gem was holding like a gateway to this weird exhibit thing where a bunch of things from history and all that stuff were being held, and apparently a bunch of YouTubers for some reason. And that kind of just seems like sort of a cop-out, because apparently they're like in limbo, and yet it never explains how any of the other people who are stuck there are dead. They assume that they're all dead, and they never try to, like, it's weird. I don't know if I wasn't able to catch onto it because of the writing and stuff, or how they were able to present the season, but it seemed like it was lacking exposition in some areas, and especially, I can't even tell if it's like the writing or if they just had really weird editing this season. Everyone was just expositing the same thing that we just learned. Like something will happen, just like, oh, like a character will say something, like a character that isn't pertaining to the main YouTube cast. Like let's say a wizard told them something, and then two YouTubers will like, they'll do like this like kind of documentary style thing where they're just like, this person said this. OMG, and it's like barely a reaction. And weirdly enough, and I'll discuss this more in the season after this, but it's so weird that this is like supposedly, they call it a game show on IMDb, but it seems like it's more like Joey's D&D campaign where he's the main hero and everyone else is an expendable side character. And I could go on a rant about this, but it seems very weird that the person who's hosting the show is also playing a role on who is voted out and is participating in games, because it constantly seems like Joey just has plot armor. There is no tension to it. When Joey and another person get into a game, it's obvious who's gonna win and who's gonna lose, or they're gonna do a cop-out thing where they're just like, now you can choose who dies, or someone random who voted you in will die. And I just hate that. They do that well with some of the other characters. Like at some point, two characters go in there and they're just like, now the person who voted the winner in will die. Like, that's kind of cool. That sort of work. But not when it's just Joey, because here's the thing. I wanted to see an actual game where Joey, like, perished, or he was just, like, you know, the host. It's kind of like if Chris McClane, this is, like, a total Drama Island reference. What if Chris McClane just joined in, like, on the, like, Toxic Mole Rats, or I think that was one of the teams in the, like, 4th season, I think? What if he joined in the Toxic Mole Rats and helped them and decided in on the vote? It was a very weird thing. And I can't even tell if it's like Joey's the producer and creator of the show, but he doesn't seem to be doing the writing. It's more of this guy doing it. So I don't know if like this guy really wants Joey to be the main character, or if Joey told him to make him the main character. It doesn't seem like it's a game show. It seems like it's more like of a one-sided D&D campaign where you're both the dungeon master and the hero of the story, which I don't play D&D, so I hope that's a good equivalency. Overall, this season was very weird and didn't make much sense like at all. It was hard for me to even watch it past like the 5th episode because one of my characters, like one of my favorite characters, just up and died. Rosanna Pansino died, and the only real person I was watching it for was Bretman, and that was about it. And Bretman is just like the best character. I have to say, giving some good parts that I do like about this season. The monster design is actually pretty good, but some of the games are kind of like really shitty and all that stuff. I do like how Tana Mojo gets kind of a redemption arc, but then they kill her off because of weird time constraints and all that stuff and budgeting issues. Rosanna Pansino, Matt Pat, and Nikita are like all very good. Bretman's a great addition, I'm not gonna lie. He's just like funny to watch. Daystorm goes out pretty quick, but he's not annoying. He's just kind of like, he's kind of cool. I like him. That's about it for like my favorite ones. Hold on, can I think of anything else? No, that's about it. That's all I like about the season. It's definitely the weakest one, and it's a weird one to end on because especially the ending of the season implies that there's gonna be a like 5th season. But I swear, I don't get why they're making Joey the hero. He's most definitely the villain. He's choosing to he's like making choices that endanger the lives of all his friends. Like with the first season, and I'll talk about this in a minute. The first season, you can tell that he's being manipulated by evil. The second season, he's been manipulated by evil. The third one is to save his own life, which, you know, that's kind of a bullshitty way, but like you could also say he's like doing the goodness of it all. Which, by the way, the whole entire point of this, to tie back into the plot, is like they travel to this realm so that way they can save everyone, except people still have to die for them to get the keys, and it's just like a death. But then at the very end, they find all the missing souls of the people who did die in the earlier seasons that didn't show up in this one, and they release them, which they never explain if the people in this season are also in that soul jar. They never fully explain that, which means either all of them died for nothing, or they're all just like got teleported into the soul jar. They never explained the soul jar. Anyway, that's about it for the nitpicks of this season. This is the one I really didn't like that much. It still had some good properties to it, but besides that, I'm good. Let's move on to the third spot. For the third spot, I'm going to give it to the second season. This one was less painful to watch, but it was still very irritating because it was kind of boring. Once again, I'll like say the good things this time. This one, plot-wise, wasn't as bad. I have to say this one was one of the more solid entries when it came to overall plot and trying to connect it back to the first season, which I can commend them for that. The Enchantress, or like the Witch Lady, I said Enchantress like DC. The Witch Lady is pretty cool. I didn't even mention her. She showed up in season 4 and she was just like kind of a weird like villain character, but really she was just there to like ham up shit, I guess. But this season kind of brings it down because some of the YouTubers they bring are very annoying to watch. I'm not trying to like be that guy. I didn't really enjoy Liza Koshy in this one. She was very fucking annoying. Alex Wasabi, as I mentioned earlier, he was like kind of really fucking boring to watch and stuff. Like after Daystorm died, it was this weird sort of thing that he was trying to do. I think after that I liked him to an extent, but then he died. So yeah, a thing I have to give is the monster design in this one is definitely pretty good, but my main problem with it is it seems like it's going for a larger scale, but compared to the first season, it's using a larger scale and it's hurting it because it doesn't seem like it has the money to put it behind. Yeah, at some points it looks like kind of cheap. Like, cause the first season, there's definitely a budget to it. I don't know if they got a like reduced one or a more advanced one for this one, but like I said, it oddly seems cheaper than the first season, which the first season had a more limited set, which I think has sort of helped it. I didn't really like Gabba Hanna. She was boring. Tana was, I don't know, at some point she was kind of boring, but like I said, I'm happy that she appeared in this one, so that way they bring her back for the fourth one, because like I said in the fourth one, she's actually pretty good. But really, I did not care for Gabby. Who else was it? I can't even remember who was in this season. Andrea, I really have nothing against. Tyler, really nothing much to either, be honest with you. But Tyler, if you are watching this, I still remember when you banned my message of saying Cocaine Doggo Gang when I donated 100 bits, and then you blocked me from typing for 15 minutes for some fucking reason. Don't be doing that shit. Come on, brother. What the fuck? That's about it. The monster design plot was pretty good, but I feel like they still needed a little bit more of a budget compared to, you know, the scale that they wanted to do. But yeah, that's about it. Time for number 2. My number 2 slot's going to be going to the first season ever. Now, this one had a very simple premise. These episodes were actually shorter compared to them if you compare the length of the first episode of season 1 to the constant 2-parters that they keep on throwing out. But yeah, I do like the cast that they brought in with this one. I think it's funny how Shane Dawson dies in the first episode. I'm assuming that was scripted because his whole entire thing was if he did survive, that wouldn't really make too much sense because then he talks about the society against evil and all that stuff. I just think it's funny because of, you know, modern day stuff. I don't know. It's cool. I really didn't know much of the YouTubers in this one. A lot of them were just like ex-Viners and all that stuff. I have to give this like season an edge over a lot of them because this one I would say is darker. It's scarier. It has like some stuff like where they don't pull punches. Tim's death, where he literally quote unquote commits the self a death because of via Russian roulette, was fucking impactful as shit. There was a lot of fucked up moments. Like when I Just Seen got buried, that was really fucked up. There wasn't no punches pulled with that one, and it was really screwed up. It wasn't afraid to do comedy, like with Glozell's death, where it's just her twerking on the ground. Once again, this sort of suffers from the problem I mentioned earlier with the 4th season, how it seems like Joey's the main character and all this. He was the one who wrote down the name for Glozell's death, but I don't know. It seems it's lesser to the effect, you know? It makes sense at this point that he's playing along with it because the house brought them all together and all that. Plot-wise, it makes sense. For the actual show-wise, that doesn't make sense to an extent, but he doesn't really have a hand in some more of the deaths in this one. I say Glozell was the only one that he really quote-unquote affected. Another one that they did was Sierra's death. That one fucked with me a lot. Matt putting the rosary on Sierra without realizing he could have done it to himself. He didn't realize the situation. I thought that was pretty good. The survivors of this one were Ava and Ollie White. I don't know any of these guys, but I thought it was funny how in the opening of season 2, they burn the invites that they get for the second season. I just think that's pretty cool. As I mentioned with season 2, season 1 had you can tell it had a much lower budget, but it seemed like it had higher production value because it didn't need to buy much more of a set, if that makes any sense. Like, there was a lot more stakes to this. They were able to do like pretty solid makeup designs and all that. I liked the mermaid lady with the gill titties, but it's weird how like they can push the line with some of the sexual content within this, because blood-wise, there's not a whole lot of blood in this series, gonna be honest with you. But like boobage and sexual themes happen a lot, a concerning amount. Like literally in season 3, there's like a scene where one of the male characters, he's not a YouTuber, gets his dick grabbed by one of the monster cheerleader ladies, and that made me extremely uncomfortable. Like, it wasn't even funny. I couldn't tell if they were playing it for laughs or not, but that was just like, it made me just not feel good inside. It made me stop and say, what the fuck? Which we'll talk about that when it comes to season 3. But yeah, I would have to say monster design overall for what they could do was pretty good. I think one of my favorite bits was the carnival bit and all that stuff, where Tim and Ollie go against each other and neither of them die for comedic reasons. I do like how they introduced that. You know, it's not always going to be the same thing with these death games. And though that did lead to some annoying stuff later on, I'd say it made sense for the season. Another thing I can give it is definitely the ending and all that stuff. It sets up for more. It presents how the evil has taken over Joey. I think that's pretty good in my opinion. Once again, this is a solid start to that knew its limits and was perfectly fine with it. The editing is definitely better comparatively because it's not always exposition stuff. And a lot of like I said, this one's a lot more scary. And one that I can definitely point to was the whole entire murderer who like apparently ripped open the mom's chest and all that stuff and then made them into mannequins. That one like kind of made me just go, holy shit. Which I like that. It made me scurry. Anyway, let's move on to the number 1 spot. For the number 1 spot, I'm going to put season 3. First off, I like the cast of YouTubers, not a lot of annoying ones. I actually got to see Guava Juice when he wasn't screaming all the fucking time. I like Rosanna Panzino and Matt Pat's relationship. I thought they were just like so cute and awesome together. Nikita was amazing. Manny was just awesome to watch and stuff. I was so upset when he fucking died. I was really upset when CJ died in the first episode because I thought he would have been way cooler later on. But you know, as a first episode death, he's pretty solid out of all of them. I like him. Safia, her death surprised the shit out of me, but I liked it. It was like kind of a cool twist and turn and all that shit. None of the deaths really they didn't come off as unnecessary. All of them seemed like I truly cared for a lot of these characters and stuff, and it was heartbreaking to see some of them go because I wouldn't get to see them for the rest of the show. God damn it. I was really hoping Roy would have been like at least the fourth death. I want to see more of just Guava Juice being himself without him screaming and promoting his NFTs and shit. I swear to God. The survivors of this one was Nikita and Matthew, as I mentioned before. I do like the collaboration that they get and sort of the feud between each other, especially when it came to Safia's death, because Nikita was the winner of that game, which resulted in Safia dying because, as I mentioned earlier. Another thing I can definitely give this one is I love the monster designs. The only one I wasn't super keen on was the two twin dolls. I don't know. That seemed kind of weird. I get they were going for a Chucky vibe and all that stuff. But to be honest, it was like, if they added just a little bit more, it could have worked. But like, presently, it's not horrible. It's just kind of like two guys in clown costumes with a mask. But this one had a lot of really good and creative character design. The Carnival Master himself was really cool to see. I like how we get to see more of the Society Against Evil and all that stuff. And actually cool, well-lit and shot fight scenes with them. The clowns at the beginning were pretty cool when they did all that stuff. I have to say, none of them were like overacted. I did like the main clown a lot. She was just like fucking cool to see. The Snake Woman, I liked her designs and all that stuff. I'm basically just going them through the row because I like a lot of these guys. The Man with No Name was one of my personal favorites because he was just a cool looking, like sort of Slender Man eel looking thing, and I liked his design. The Strong Man, it was a bit weird, but like I kind of like it because I don't know, it just reminds me of that one picture of like Quagmire leaving his house with the big buffy arm and all that shit. I thought it was funny. The Maid of Madness was kind of an iffy one. That was the one where it was basically just an Iron Maiden. It was cool for what it was, and it sort of like kind of called back to the Justine's death in the first season. Wasn't something too special. And then I have to say, because that was also the episode with the clowns, the clown dolls and all that stuff, the doll people, I would have liked to see something more with that. That could have been really fucking terrifying. And then one of my personal favorites, I'm not gonna lie, was Willie. That one was really good. I liked that one. He was cool. He basically had like 4 different faces. His whole entire game was really cool, and then had that twist at the end. It was really cool to see him because he had like a lot of personality, and I feel like the actor who was playing him had a lot of fun. I feel like a lot of the actors just had a lot of fun. It seems like they just got like theater actors and all that shit, and I'm here for it. The only game that I wouldn't say was super memorable was the final game, not for like the actual villain itself. The villain wasn't memorable, but I did like how Nikita had to kill Manny at the end, and then Nikita just decides to empty the full fucking gun on Manny. I don't know, that's kind of funny. But yeah, I have to say, personal favorite, this is it. All the deaths were pretty solid, especially when it came to the gore and the scariness. It wasn't super scary compared to the first season, but it had a nice leveling to it, I would say, of the fucked upness. It had a lot of good YouTubers that both I recognize and did enjoy their interactions with and all that stuff. And the story plot of it, even though it's not the most solid out of all of them, it does nicely tie back to all the rest of the stuff. And even though it does lead into the 4th season, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. I did like how they brought the whole entire 70s vibes and all that stuff, and they didn't go straight to like the 80s and 90s. I know like that trope is kind of tired of doing like 80s nostalgia and stuff, so I kind of like how they did 70s. I don't know, it's just a me thing. Plus, the actual villains in this one, even though I mentioned their character design, their backstories actually are pretty good. All the villains have backstories and all that stuff. I just didn't really seem to mention them because the only ones that really mattered seemed to be the one in the 1st season and in the 3rd season. The 2nd season really didn't make much sense for them to be there at the mansion thing. It seemed very convoluted that they would all be there. It made sense with the 1st season because they all seemed to be previous owners of it, so I liked that, or they were murdered or something happened within the home. That's kind of cool. I like that. And then the 3rd season, it makes sense because all of them are residents of the town and were affected by the Carnival Master before all that happened. So I like that. The 4th season is just like, I captured them in box and put them here. That's it. Okay, since that's all the way and I've said my favorite season, let's just talk about the show as a whole. So, what are my thoughts on the show as a whole, looking at all 4 seasons? I would have to say, for a YouTube Red series, it's good. I like it. It's a fun concept to see. Like, all of us have our favorite YouTubers and all that stuff, and it's cool seeing them in sort of a battle royale / escape room level shit. I think that's fun. My only problem with it is it's sort of it's kind of confused on whether it's supposed to be a game show or if it's supposed to be sort of a D&D adventure, which it could be like sort of a both sort of situation. But I don't get why you would call it a game show if the host itself can play the games, beat you at them, and then vote on you to be select. That seems very weird to me. Once again, using the Chris McLean and all that stuff. Also, I don't get what the prize is supposed to be. Just internet points, I guess. Maybe they get to keep the idols in the games. That would be cool, I guess, because like the season 1, season 3 idols are pretty sick. But yeah, that's about it for all I got for this. This is pretty solid. I want to see a 5th season with like the super modern YouTubers and all that stuff. That'd be cool to see. And I hope that they get a substantial budget and they sort of, I don't want them to reboot it, but the only way I could see it is it being rebooted or of them chasing after the Pandora's box that consumed Joey. But if I could change anything, I would want Joey to either be the villain or the person they're trying to save, one or the other. I don't really want him interacting with the game itself. He can, of course, write the show and be the host, but I'm saying don't allow him to vote his contestants out. That doesn't make sense to me. I get it, it's his fellow YouTuber bros, but either don't be the host or be the host and don't be a contestant. It's really weird to me. I still don't understand it. If someone could explain it to me, that would be cool. If there was a season where he lost the game, and if there was an episode where he lost the game, got killed, and then was brought back for some reason, that would be cool to see. But like I said, if he is both the host with the plot armor and he is also a contestant, then there is no tension when I see him and a person go into a game. There's nothing. It was kind of cool how they killed him off in the 2nd season. They were obviously going to bring him back. But at least then, there was like a spook, because like we were just like, oh, this guy can't die. He's the host. And then he did die. And that was it. That was it. But yeah, as a whole, I like the show. It was a cool concept, came to life. And I want to see more of it. I hope it finds a home somewhere. I do own the board game. I will never make a video about that board game. If I was going to make a video about a board game, it'd probably be Muffin Time or something. Because, dear God, that game is so hard to figure out. I think it's just Clue, but it's really hard to figure out compared to like something simple like Muffin Time. So if you guys want to see me talk about that board game or Muffin Time or anything else, please tell me down below. I'm sorry for the wacky upload schedule like normal. I just thought this would be a cool introduction to our spooky month. I will be doing merchandise reviews for people who are related to the spookies. I mentioned the Dead Meat video, probably that. If a YouTuber releases a costume, I'll review that. I'll be seeing you on the next one. Make sure you have a good day, good night, good midday, good midnight. Be safe out there, people, and make sure not to die. Bye-bye.